This series is designed to help you clear difficult games in a single credit, and today we'll be looking at one of my favorite games, Taito's Darius. But pronounce it Darius if you want. I'm not your dad. This is a shoot 'em up that originally came in a huge cabinet with 3 monitors, which is why the aspect ratio is how it is. It also has branching paths, so the difficulty of a playthrough can be very different depending on which you choose. Each level has different enemy configurations, and some end bosses are way harder than others. To start things out, I'll be showing what's generally considered to be the beginner's route, ABDGKQV. And we'll be exploiting a few bugs too, because this playthrough is of the old version of the game as opposed to the newer extra versions. I prefer the old version, but if you're interested in learning more about the differences between all the versions, I'll leave a link in the description to an episode of Retronauts podcast that I guested on, talking all about the Darius series. And if you're really interested in seeing tutorials on those other versions, let me know, but you should just play the old version. I also usually cover ports on this series as well, and we're going to skip them this time. To be honest, I don't think many of the Darius 1 ports are very interesting. They tend to be really zoomed in. The arcade version is really the way to go. But again, if you're interested in seeing those, though, I'll see what I can do in the future. I'll also post a tutorial for more advanced routes later as well. If I can do it, you can do it. I can, you can, 1cc. System and control-wise, Darius is a really simple game. Button 1 fires your missile, which is just your regular shot, and button 2 fires your bomb. Most of the time, you'll just be mashing both of these buttons at once, or holding them down if you're using auto-fire. Speaking of which, I'm playing this on the Switch version of the Darius Cosmic Collection, and I have auto-fire turned on to 10 Hz. Using auto-fire is a point of contention for some people, but down at a lower level like 10 Hz, it's not that far removed from a really fast button mash. They have auto-fire buttons all over Japanese retro arcade cabinets. It's not cheating. You'll be picking up these red, green, and blue orbs dropped by the same colored enemies, and these correspond to your missile, bomb, and arm, which is your shield. Each of these meters ticks up as you pick up more of that color power-up, and eventually rolls over to the next level. In theory, this is a good thing because it makes that power-up stronger. But the old version has a very well-known bug that you should absolutely exploit unless you really want to challenge yourself. Do not level up your missile to the second set of bars, or else it turns into the laser. Due to this bug, the laser does horrible damage that will make your life a lot more difficult, so don't do it. The green and the blue are fine to level up as you like, though. You'll also see these gray orbs, which give you points, flashing gold orbs, which clear the screen of all enemies, and sometimes even a 1-up. You'll generally want to be more toward the right of the screen, since you'll be able to fire faster that way and want to take out enemies as quickly as possible. But for these guys, don't go too far right, since they come flying on screen and then come together like this. These bigger ships take more hits, so you can get up to them and point blank them to take them out more quickly, because you don't want to miss the green power-up at the end that this one will give you. Similarly, just move up or down when you see these lines of enemies, and whatever you do, don't miss taking out the red, blue, and green ones. As we come back to this rock formation, do the same thing where you focus your aim at the top of it and hang back just a little bit. Don't get too close to these things up at the top because they explode. Take them out from a healthy distance as you hang back enough to kind of remain in the middle of this oncoming waves. And now we have gun turrets. They can be tricky and you can take them out through the rocks, but here I just put myself between them, take a little bit of damage, and get myself out of the situation. When there aren't too many of them, it's easy to just dodge around their shots. There you saw me take out one through the rock. So we're going to have some missile-shooting vehicles appearing on the bottom of the screen, and you really want to prioritize taking them out because those missiles do some damage. You can bait the missiles out by going high, and then low to take them out after they've fired. This arrangement of turrets really sucks because you also have an oncoming swarm of enemies to deal with. Again, I try to position myself in between the turret fire until I've cleared the swarm. To be honest, I was a little bit more sloppy on the first level of this playthrough than I usually am as far as taking damage goes. I know I said prioritize the vehicles at the bottom, but if you shoot this row of enemies first, you'll get this green power-up. And if you don't do that, the enemy could easily just go off screen. Not the end of the world either way. The bosses are the real showpieces of this game, and they're always preceded by these row. As you'll see, this is a very sea life-centric game. Just blast it all off the screen as quickly as you can. And here's the iconic first boss, King Fossil. He has 3 weak points: his top fin, his bottom fin, and his mouth. The most effective strategy is to shoot his mouth until he opens it and spits those shots. If you move up or down when he does that, you'll still get a few hits in on the mouth, and then you can work on those fins. When you switch sides, you can get a few more hits on the mouth just as you move up and down. You can see me hitting him with bombs at an angle from above too here, and this is probably the least risky way to take him out if you're just learning. I've just fought this guy so many times that I take more chances. You may have figured out by now that you can't touch the top or bottom of the stage or you die, just like in other shooters like Darius. However, as the level winds down here, you'll be faced with a choice in paths, up or down. You'll be going up for almost all the paths but one much later on, but you can't just move up normally. I hate this, but this is the only Darius game that actually forces you to navigate down the path, and it's very easy to collide with this wall because of the weird way the scrolling works here. I like to hold back and up until the screen scrolls up a bit more, and then you can just proceed as normal. This will keep you from running into that stupid wall. B-Zone adds in considerably more terrain to not run into. Enemy waves will also get more hectic, so don't be afraid to retreat back to the left a bit when necessary. Enemies will often come down from the top, the last one giving you a power-up. A good general strategy here is to stay behind terrain cover and shoot so they'll line up nicely for you. I'm doing the same thing here once again. Your bombs are doing all the work for you on these guns at the bottom, which is very important for this level. And for these purple Easter eggs, you can shoot them through the wall, just keep blasting them to get them to move down lower and get out of your way. You'll also see me just zip under them as well. Now, Electric Fan has a pattern that may take a little bit of practice to get down, but it's not too bad. Get about at half screen distance from it, and its beam always comes out of its mouth, which is also where you need to hit it. He always shoots 3 beams at a time before briefly stopping, and they'll always be in the direction that he's moving. So if he's moving down, they'll be moving down too. If you're ready for that, you can get a couple of hits in on the mouth and prepare to move in the other direction. Just keep this up and he'll go down in no time. Picking up a red power-up here, we're now firing triple shot. You can actually stop collecting reds here if you want. It's okay to collect 2 more, but do not pick up any more than that. It's just easy to make mistakes, so if you want to be careful, you can intentionally not fill up your meter in case you do. Throughout the level, you'll see these groups of ships that just appear from the top and bottom. I just kind of react to them, and if you take a little bit of damage, it's not that big of a deal. If you're having trouble, though, you can move all the way back on screen to where they don't appear. But for the most part, I try to stay around center screen fairly close to the right, at least for now. These blue gun turrets shoot off more bullets than normal, so you want to get the hang of bombing and backing away from those shots. And sometimes you'll just end up in slightly more complex bullet patterns where you'll have to look at where they're going and dodge between them. This is really a shoot 'em up fundamental, and this is a relatively easy place to practice it. Dual Shears has a trick that I don't see many people use. After you take out the row, move down to the lower left corner of the screen and just blast away. His shots will not hit you at all until his claws come off and his shot patterns change. Once that second claw comes off, though, just move in this up and down pattern to bait those red bullets. You're drawing them up, then moving down to avoid. He'll shoot down, and you'll move up to avoid. The blue lasers are always in that fixed position. G-Zone is the first stage to introduce enemies that come from behind you, so middle to right screen is a good position to be in. And by this point, your bomb should be shooting both up and down simultaneously, which is going to help with those enemies that come out in those patterns a lot. Now here comes our first wave from behind, and notice that they're moving in these arcs. This allows you to safely get behind them and let those bombs do their work. With this wave, since they're coming in higher, you'll want to get below them and do the same thing. I don't know why I picked up those 2 red power-ups. I guess I just felt like living dangerously. When we come to these moons with the rock formation beneath them, know that there are shield power-ups coming, so hang back behind the rocks and wait for them to appear. Having a gold shield is going to be critical for the boss of this level. These missile bays are a huge pain. You can kind of play this game of peekaboo with them, where you peek over the rocks and try to hit them with your bombs, but they just shoot out their own missiles so quickly. These green guys who come jumping up behind you should be dealt with quickly too. Go up and over them and under this wave of regular enemies coming in from the back, though I didn't execute that very well. You'll see me do this a little bit better later. As you get closer to these missile bays, you can bait the missiles out and dodge them the same way you did with the blue vehicles that shot missiles in Stage 1. And once again, hang back here for more shield power-ups. Now you should be at gold. Alright, Fatty Glutton is this game's wall, the run killer. If you didn't power up your weapon to the laser, the best strategy is honestly just to get up in his face and point blank him. Fire on him as fast as you can and soak up the damage he'll do to you before you kill him. This is why a gold shield is important. This works for me pretty consistently, though God knows there's been a couple of times when he got me first. I position myself just below his mouth, and it seems like I take less damage that way. If you're not playing with autofire, you can still do this if you're good at mashing. I've done it successfully a ton of times on cabinets without autofire buttons. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. Unclench, take a breath, hydrate, and get ready for K-Zone. And here's the time to be aggressive by staying on the right side of the screen, because waves of enemies will be coming at you pretty fast. Just try to spot the green and blue power-ups. Sometimes they can get by you, but after a bit you'll get a feel for when they come in. Staying on the right will in particular help you take out the many gun turrets that are here basically as soon as they appear on screen. Keen Bayonet is a little bit of a battle of attrition. Like King Fossil, he has breakable parts on his top and bottom, and his mouth is the main place for dealing damage. The difference is he fires out a lot more shots than King Fossil does. You can start below him, working on that fin, and as he moves down, you move up, dodging those shots. If you're firing as you change sides, you'll get some hits in on his mouth naturally. When he's higher up, you can also sneak in on him and let your bombs do some of the work to hit him in the mouth too. It takes a little bit, but repeating this will eventually get you through. Focus more on dodging the shots to take a minimal amount of damage, since you should just be constantly firing anyway. Going into the next level, this is the one time you want to move down. Just as before, hold down and back until the screen scroll finishes so you don't slam into that wall. Q is the most challenging stage we'll see for this run because there are hidden missiles that will shoot out of the ground, which really complicate things. The good news is that if you haven't already, you should be powering up your bombs to also shoot behind you, making the enemy waves that come from behind quite a bit easier to deal with than before. I tend to find myself mid to back screen for most of this, playing a little bit more defensively, and you'll see why once we get to the hidden missiles. They start right about here. If there's a way apart from memorization to tell where they come up from, I'm not sure what it is. This is why I tend to play a bit more defensively, because me constantly firing my own bombs will have a better chance of hitting them before they hit me. So if you're moving forward consistently, you can certainly avoid them too. It's just more difficult if you don't know when they're coming. If you're trying to take them out with bombs, stay low. If you're trying to avoid, stay high. Other than that, the key here is just to maintain a solid position and keep firing, moving forward to collect power-ups, particularly to keep your shield up, because there's a good chance you'll be taking some hits here. And I made it to Iron Hammer with no shield, but that's okay because we can exploit a bug here that makes him much easier but more time-consuming to fight. People who play for score also use this to milk him for points. There's a safe spot. You want to get yourself to the top left of the screen, right around here where the power-up gauges begin, and just keep firing. You'll hit all the ships coming at you from the bottom with your bombs, and you'll slowly do damage to Iron Hammer with your shots whenever he moves up. Now, if you're coming into this with a shield and you're not in the exact correct position, sometimes you'll see your shield depleting. I haven't really figured out the exact pixel location where you need to be to keep that from happening just yet. But if you lose your shield here and still get through the fight, it's not that big of a deal. Final level, Zone V. And here you are going to be as far to the right as you can almost the entire time. I'm very focused on survival and not really taking out the waves in this level, though part of that could be because I came in with no shield. Upper right will actually allow you to completely avoid most of what's coming at you and put you in a good position to quickly take out the gun turrets as well. When these gun turrets come onto screen, your bombs will take out most of them immediately. Just keep an eye on their shots so that you can slightly readjust your positioning if you need to. The final boss for this route is Not So Strong Shell, because he has a bug in the old version where you can point blank him and kill him almost instantly, if you haven't powered up your weapon, of course. Just stay in his face, and he goes down before you know it. And with this, Final Zone is over. You've beaten Darius 1. You are the bravest pilot. See you again next game. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos that break down how to clear difficult retro games like this one. And let me know in the comments if you managed to clear Darius and which parts were the most difficult for you. I hope you found this helpful, and
good luck!